We got to turn it up.
Okay, well, welcome everybody. It is 6:30 p.m. on Wednesday, October 20th, 2021, and we are gathered here at the clubhouse located at 4801 Lakeside Club Boulevard for our monthly Board of Directors meeting. I would like to begin the meeting by asking everyone to stand with me and recite of a legend to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you for everybody here. Eric, was the meeting properly noticed?
Yes, it was.
Next will next will be the open forum to do we have anyone who has?
Yeah, we have a couple signed up. Skip
Yeah, I just want to make you
Skip
notice.
Ufali.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I want to make you notice that many of the blue markers for the hydrants are either cracked, broken, or missing. Can we get some new markers?
Yeah, we can check into that. You're talking about the reflectors?
Yeah.
Yeah. We
I
can check
think
into
all these Yankees coming back, you might have to fly.
Next, Patrick Durkin.
Hello. Real quick, everything looks great. The only thing, when I go to the pool, we have a beautiful pool, and I look around and I'm bombarded with signs everywhere. There's over 20 signs hanging, and everything is say, don't do this, don't do that. I think it kind of takes away a little bit of the ambiance of the pool, so slow down on the signs, maybe. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Now I'm going to call the roll. John Mallon.
Here.
Bob Tolles is absent. Bill England.
Here.
John Fricker.
Here.
Scott Harris.
Here.
Phil Schifano.
Here.
Tom Trina.
Here.
Do I have a motion to waive the rating of the previous month's minutes?
I would like to make a motion to approve the minutes at the last meeting.
So the motion on the floor to waive the reading of the minutes from last month's
Second
meeting.
that motion.
Motion is made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All against? Say nay. 7-0. The next thing is going to be the manager's report. I'm going to keep it brief tonight because a lot of what we're going to cover is in the agenda and part of the treasurer's report. We spent a lot of time working on the budget. We developed an executive budget committee that had only former presidents of the board, treasurers of the board, and current members of the board. And we were able to come up with a very good budget, I think, that despite some extreme challenges from the insurance perspective, is a lot better than I thought it was going to turn out. So Scott, I think, is going to talk more about that when he comes up. Spent a lot of time preparing the mailing. I think everybody got their packet when they came in. When we get to the agenda part of the meeting, I'm going to review the contents of the packet with you so you understand what's in there and the deadlines that are associated with that. But I'm happy to report the community is doing well. Everything is looking well. A few issues that we have are being addressed or going to be very addressed in short order. We're almost through hurricane season, which is another thing. Lord, that we do not have any storms as of now. The COVID-19 numbers are drastically going down, especially here in Florida and Lee County. And those who are taking the vaccine and want to get a booster shot, Kathy Fox is helping people make appointments if you need help with that also. So that's available to anybody who's due for their booster shot or needs one. The light pole on Windsor Club is going to be replaced soon. That's one of the things a lot of people asking about. As well as the fascia damage that was done during that big heavy windstorm that we had during the last tropical event. And that's kind of all I have for the manager's report. Next month, I want to actually report to you guys some data. It will be towards the end of the year. How many applications for sales do we process through the year? How many applications for rent? I think it'd be interesting for you guys to understand the numbers that we're having, and then also some of the price ranges that people are getting. Because I know we normally would send out a pricing update. We didn't do that this year because we're so focused on speeding and stopping the speeding. So I'm going to try to have some information on that for you guys because I think that's helpful for everybody to know. So the next is going to be the treasurer's report.
Okay, the association remains on budget overall. The additional expense for this insurance rise in the premium, I take the budget very seriously. I took this insurance thing personally. I mean, it really ticked me off. But it'll be covered. The rates immediately went up, so we're over budget for that, but we're covering it with operating surplus, thank you, Harry, to the tune of about $5,000 a month. But we'll be fine on that. We're over budget for pool chemicals. I don't know what y'all are doing in the pool, but you're costing us money, so, okay. The budget will be going out in the mailing this month, and that's to the entire membership, so everybody can get a look at it. Eric convened the committee, which this year was some current board members and former board officers. He already mentioned that. The current members for present and future policy, they should be aware before November's meeting what the budget's looking like and how we got there. The former board officers, there's a lot of history of Pine Ridge being carried around in people's heads. And the former officers have had experience with, we've been through some rough spots. So, and they know. So it was good to have their eyeballs on this situation as well. After all that, we did succeed in keeping the fee increase below the general inflation rate, which I believe as of September was running at 5.4% annualized, and particularly below the 2022 Social Security COLA, which next year, fortunately, will be 5.9%. I want to mention that this target I do with the Social Security COLA is very informal. It's not a policy. It's not anything that we could guarantee in the future, but you need a horizon to sort of sail towards. And we've set trying as much as possible to keep the rise in fees below Social Security rise. So we have to think about, some people might, the budgets are really tight. So if we can, we're going to do it. And if we can't, we're going to keep trying to do it until we absolutely can. So that's these numbers here, ugly numbers. The change in the fees are in the nearly the 5% range. On the back of the handout for my treasurer's report, there's a printed copy you can look at. That 4%, that first 4, is the insurance premium. That's what that's built in. There's no way I could get around it. The rest, after the decimal point, is what we got another, depending on the condo, 3 to 7% rise out. And we do that by transferring from the operating surplus into the reserves. So what I'm doing is the operating is going up But if we can feed that surplus back into the reserves, then the amount we have to assess for the reserves goes down and gets us back closer to zero. So ugly to the left of the decimal point, and we did really well to the right. And that's all from me. As usual, all of our financial documents, the budget, the financial statements, the check registers are available for your perusal at any time. Just come and ask the office.
One thing, if I can add to what you're saying, Scott, about the budget is the increase is a little bit more than what we're typically seeing, and the insurance market remains the same and the economy remains the same. We're probably going to be seeing that. And one thing that at least the members of this board have articulated to me is that they're not willing to sacrifice anything. Like, we're going to do everything the same that we've always done. It's going to be run in a first-class way, and there's going to be no compromises due to financial reasons. And that was important to us also.
Okay, on the subject of running things in a first-class way, well, can we do it cheap? No, we can't, because we've got a lot of good deals out there. We have relationships with vendors. We could spend $100 on something and get a first-class job. We could spend $100 on something, the same thing, and get a mess. And it's just about our relationships with our contractors and our vendors. The fact is, we're getting deals with these people, and there's no savings out there. No, it would be more costly in the long run. So really, we're sailing close to the bone, but it's a nice trim ship, because we do keep an eye on these things, and Eric works very hard looking for savings.
And most of the time when you try to cut back on something that you know you need to have, it ends up costing you more in the long run. So we're not willing to do that yet. So the next thing is going to be the committee reports. We want to start with safety and security.
That'd be great. Can you hear me, Ed, Ricky?
Gotcha, bud.
John Mal, Villa Drive.
Who? Who?
So I would like to reply to my friend from Illinois. We had a problem with some unruly children in the pool. That's why we needed to bring out signage, because the parents got a little boisterous with some of our residents in the pool. We tracked them all down. We had Dog the Bounty Hunter come in, and that's why we have the signage up. So I do have a lot to say, unfortunately. I'm getting all my A-team back together. Ricky's the main man. I'm waiting for Joe DeStefan to show up, and Robert's back, so I got the whole gang. So we've gotten bids on the street light that Eric's already said. Again, ring doorbells, if you can, please. Speeding. Our speeders have slowed down, but we had one guy almost get hit the other day. Again, we need to get the person's license plate, color of the car. If you can get the make of the car, that'd be great. We're also in the process of getting bids for our cameras within this hall and within the outside of the pool. We need it got knocked out by the big storm, so we're getting 3 bids on that. I'd like to give a big shout out to the social committee. I'd like to thank all the volunteers on the social committee. As you know, we were shut down by COVID on and off for 18 months. I'm glad that things are finally coming back. I'd like to give a big thank you to the ladies on the social committee. Again, those meetings are open to everybody. Please come out. We will eventually have another safety meeting, but it won't be until January when we get the whole team back together. Thank you.
One thing, if I can add about the ring doorbells that we talk about, I think it's a common misconception that people think that they're very difficult to install and it requires wiring and things like that. They're actually battery-powered units that you can buy, and you just change the batteries once a month or as needed. And it connects to your Wi-Fi, to your phone, and it's a very simple process. They've really streamlined it and made it simple. So it is something to look at, and for those that have been maybe scared to look at it because they think it needs to be wired in by an electrician or something like that, they have battery-powered units that literally you attach to your front door, and they seem to work very well. So
Eric, we just put 2 in,
Yeah.
K and I,
yeah,
and they are battery and they're rechargeable.
Yeah.
so very good, very good.
$99.
You're out of order right now
Oh,
talking,
sorry.
but thank you for that.
Oh my gosh! Sorry about that.
But thank you for that, because, yeah, that is, a lot of people have come to be apprehensive about getting one because they're worried about installing it, and it's very simple to install. If you can put the internet on your phone, you can probably install the Ring doorbell. Bill, did you want to do your lake and amenity? Bob is not here tonight, so Tom is going to report. So Bill.
Yeah, Bill England with the lake and amenities reports. Here's an update on our lake progress. Overall, the condition of our lake is very good. This is determined by the water samples that we send out and have checked. The water clarity may not look as good as we would like it to, but you got to remember we don't have a lot of fresh water coming into our lake, so that's the reason some of the clarity is not like it should be. We continue to have some growth of algae along the shorelines. Our lake management person continues to treat this. However, this is a slow process due to the type of organic treatment chemicals used that are the best for our lake. We need to remember that this is a pond, not an actual lake. The difference between a lake and a pond is the pond is a still body of water with very little fresh water input. Stormwater runoff into our lake from the lawn fertilizers that are used to keep our grass looking good is causing a lot of algae problems that we have along the shoreline. I'm going to talk with Eric and see if we can find out from the lawn service if we can switch to an organic treatment that will help with this algae problem. Since our lake/pond is a shallow water facility, sunlight causes the algae to grow at a much higher rate. I will continue to monitor this progress. Last week I met with our tennis court repair person, and Eric and I were going to do this, but Eric was off at that time, so I met with him myself and discussed repairs that need to be performed on the court. There were several places that need to be repaired, and at this time, temporary repairs have been made. Approximately 10 places were repaired. These repairs have been made in these places that would cause a possible tripping hazard while playing. Several of the cracks in the court were looked at and determined that they didn't need anything done to them at this time. He is to return later in the week and do some additional painting to cover the repaired places. After this is done, these places will stand out a little bit, but overall the condition of the court is good. On the north end of the tennis court, there is a low place where the water stands that has caused a dark stain. This is something that needs to be addressed in the near future, as this will continue to sink and will cause additional problems. I think these repairs were made to the court 4 or 5 years ago, and these spots, they were made 4 or 5 years ago when this spot was addressed. The next time that we make repairs, this will have to be addressed again. If you've been on the tennis court out there in the north end of the court, there is a place, basically the full length from east to west of the court, where it is a low spot in there. It's off of the court itself, but it's back in the back portion of it, and the water stands in there, and that's the reason we're getting that dark stain in there. So I think repairs were made to the court either 4 or 5 years ago, and I'm not sure on those times. Eric can talk about that, and this spot was addressed. The next time We have repairs this will need to be addressed again. Lifetime of a court is between repairs and repainting is usually 5 to 7 years. And this, I got this information from the guy that was doing the repairs on the court out there. He says, and this has to do with if you have constant use on the court, which we don't have that all the time, but still, the court's still laying there. And the cracks in the court have been, they've been fiberglassed over a period of time, and you still may see some of those cracks in there. But at least we don't live where we have freezing and the ground's not going to be moving. So cracks aren't really a real big problem out there, the small cracks, as long as they're not high enough where a shoe catches in them and causes a tripping hazard. It says there is a buildup of leaves and debris along the fence line of the tennis court, and this caused the water to not drain properly. We need to have this cleaned up, and the courts pressure washed. After a visual inspection, the shuffleboard courts were performed, and these need to be pressure washed also. I went out there today and looked at those. They are dark, and a good pressure washing would help those. If it's all possible, we can get that done.
Sorry to interrupt you, Bill. Did he recommend pressure washing the tennis court?
Yeah. That and the shuffleboard courts also.
Yeah,
He said that would help the glass that's on the top of that thing for the, whatever you call it, pokes or whatever that is, to slide on. Play shuffleboard, I don't know what it is.
Yeah, the glass beads.
Yeah, and there's a drain out there also that probably needs to be cleaned out. He said to make sure that that thing is clean, that they done it,
Yeah, we'll take
found
a
it
look at
once
that.
before, and
Okay.
I put that in there because I didn't know that if you were gonna be here tonight or not, so I just wanted to see if we can get it addressed. So I also performed a visual inspection of the pool area, and Bruce is doing a real good job on the overall care of the pool. I noticed that we still have some of the chairs that need new coverings. Hopefully these can be completed in the near future. Are you still working with the people to try to get those done?
Yeah, they're working. They had a different person do this seams, the sewing on this batch, and it didn't hold. So that person's not doing it anymore, and they're gonna redo them for us at the, you know. So we brought a bunch of them over there, and we'll be bringing them back. And we'll probably change vendors once this round is done totally, just because of the problems and the delays that we've had. It's kind of enough is enough. But we're going to finish this round with them, so just bear with it. And we're going to pull the bad ones and take them over to be redone as soon as we. And if you notice a lot of bad ones or one getting bad, let me know. A lot of it happens on the lounge chairs. If people sat down a little easier, it would really help out a lot on those.
We all lost weight.
Well, no, people when they sit down, you tend to just kind of fall down, and if you kind of sit down nice and easy, it would
He's trying, he's digging a bigger hole for himself.
Well,
That's the reason I let him address that. I wasn't gonna touch that part of it. And to get him off the hook here, so I'd like to commend Eric and Bruce on the overall good work that they do on our grounds. We have a nice community, and we all need to work together to make sure that we continue to grow. Thank you.
thank you, Bill. Just a couple of things to add on the lake. One of our newer owners took a picture. He caught a big bass. It was one of the nicest catches I've seen out of that lake. How big was it? I don't know how big it was.
Looks like about 8 pounds.
Yeah, an 8-pounder.
The picture weighed at least 5.
Yeah. Also around the pool, we have new trash cans. I don't know if anybody noticed those. And then overall for the courts, I wanted to ask you, did he say fact that they're 4 or 5 years old, that we're in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then, in a couple of years, I think you'll be looking at new courts, but for now, we're in pretty
Yeah.
good shape.
The place that he was talking about, well, on the upper end of that,
Yeah.
he said it was dug out at one time, and he said it probably wasn't rolled back in properly.
Yeah, I was questioning about that exact spot.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Phil, anything? No? Tom?
We had a Rules and Regulations meeting on September 26th. Well, first of all, Bob is up in Michigan helping his dad, who's having some trouble, so he asked me to take over the Rules and Regs Committee report tonight. Anyway, we had this meeting, it was a Sunday on the 26th. We were all surprised at the turnout. We had over 20 people, which that's about the size of this crowd. I think we've got 22 or 23, which is awesome to have people come out and give us their input, because it's all of our community, and we need to take care of it. The overwhelming feeling of the members who attended that meeting was basically there isn't any or many rules that need any kind of changing, other than there's some grammatical things and some rewording, but their strongest feeling was on enforcement. That the biggest problem we've got is we're not enforcing the rules that are on the books now. And you know, a common way of looking at that is to say, well, if we're not enforcing them, why do we even have the rule? And we get this complaint over and over and over again, all the time, from those that have or those that have not. You know, there's a lot of things that some people have on their property or around their property that others will request or would like to do, and it's not allowed. The mission of this year's Rules and Regs Committee and the Board of Directors is to correct that we need to start following the rules that are in place. So it isn't anything about any particular item, it's just overall, we need to follow the rules. A copy of the rules and regs are given to anyone when they purchase a property here. They're required by law to receive that copy of rules and regs. I know a lot of people have been here for a lot of years. If you don't have that copy or can't dig it up, it is on our current website that you can download and print, or stop by the office and Pamela will be happy to print your copy right on the spot.
We have them pre-printed even, Tom.
Yeah,
So there you go.
she'll just hand them out. There you go. As easy as it could get. We've also had complaints, not only from the people in attendance at the committee, but other residents, that there's a few things that are beginning to look like they were before Eric got here. And I wasn't around then, but my understanding, we had gardens in every front yard and pink flamingos and trinkets hanging from everything, and it was a real mess. And we don't have anywhere near that now, but it starts somewhere. And that's what the board is looking at, and the committee is looking at, is at some point we've got to say, okay, we're going to start enforcing these, or let's get rid of them and have everybody just go at it.
And just to touch on that, because I know you weren't here at that time. When I first kind of took the job here, and Ed was one of the guys that hired me, we didn't have any landscaping in this community. It was nothing. It was, you know, brown grass, very few bushes and things like that, and there was no landscaping. And people would want to plant flowers and bushes and things around their house because they want their house to look nice. So it was kind of a catch-22, and I said to the board, you know, if you want to enforce that rule, what you have to do is fulfill your obligation of giving people proper landscaping. So that's when we re-landscaped the whole community, and it's beautiful, I think, now. But so really, there's no reason to have so much personalization of that outside your courtyard or outside your unit, because it is nicely landscaped. And if it's not, if there is a problem, let us know and we can jump on addressing it. We've
Yeah.
turned some of the worst areas into some of the nicest just recently.
Exactly, yeah. And going along with that, the landscaping is really consistent. You don't have random types of plantings and so forth. So we want to keep it as beautiful as it is now, and we need to be consistent with this. So one of the things that did come up that I had never thought about, one of the residents mentioned there's a number of car covers that we permanent residents endure all summer that are all ragged and their pieces are flying off them and they're taped up and so forth. That's the kind of thing that we need to address. You don't want that out in front of your unit because your neighbor went back up north.
Probably ultimately damages the car also.
Oh, it's going to damage the car. It's flopping around, or you'll see some. We've had people with a big tarp and a rope tied around it. Well, they make fairly inexpensive car covers that latch underneath and really do a good job. And there's a lot of them here, but I just mentioned one point. I'm going to go through a list of what was brought up at the meeting and generally agreed on by all 20-plus people that were there. The bicycles in the hallways has to stop. It's not only against all of our rules, it's a fire hazard. We've got people drilling holes in the concrete and putting lag bolts in to bolt their bicycle to. We've got people with bicycle chains around the stairwells.
Chain to the railing.
We're going to address this in much more detail a little later in the meeting as a separate line item. And Patrick, I hate to disappoint you, but we're going to be putting new signs in every hallway. So the sign count is going up. No more by the pool, though. The pool's done.
Who's relevant as a sign contractor?
Out of order again in the back. Out of order.
All nepotism is Jordan, given to John Mao. So speak to him about that. If you're lucky, maybe you can get a contract. Okay, so the bicycles we're going to address a little bit later. There was a lot of concern about illegal planting and stuff that just goes on that people don't turn in a landscaping request for, and we don't even know is happening. And I'm going to stop a minute and read this particular rule. If you've got your rules and regs, it's item number 27, and bear with me, I'm just going to read it, it's fairly short. Rule 27, no resident, tenant, guest, or family member is allowed to garden, that is, plant any flowers, shrubs, vegetable, or fruit-bearing plants, display any type of lawn ornament or decoration, or allow or place any pot or planter on any portion of the common elements. And basically the common elements is anything outside the paint on your villa or condo. So the dirt in your yard is actually common area.
Yeah, actually, and if you do plant a plant in that dirt,
Shut it off.
it is actually property of the association
Yeah.
once you plant that. So, you want to bear that in mind.
Right, and we can do anything we want, or
I think
HOA. Another item that came up, the ceramic pots and so forth that are outside, that so many people have. Every hurricane season, the board is harping on people to take those in because they're so dangerous during a hurricane. Well, actually, the rule states you can't have them out there at any point during the year. That's why the landscaping is there, not to be supplanted with more pots. The fruit trees, we've discussed that to no end in the last meeting at length. We're going to discuss that again a little bit later in the meeting as a particular line item. The golf carts being stored outside, we're getting rid of the rule that they've got to be covered. They must be in your driveway or in the garage, and that one is, in particular, there may be some further changes in that. The swimming pool, the new signage hopefully helps, but, you know, if you see somebody making some violations, you can mention it to them. If they're not friendly, just call our security guy, John Moe.
Some of that signage, by the way, is for state health department required.
Right.
Some of it is additional. So hopefully one day we don't need the additional. Everybody follows the rules.
So keep in mind, what we're addressing are the current rules. We're not changing anything. We're just going to further enforce them on a real easy-fed schedule. This board can address any of the past non-compliance issues that have gone on, but we are committed to adhering to the rules and making this place safer and more beautiful and in compliance with what everyone has agreed on. I will add this, in one of the mailings that you'll receive this fall, we'll make sure we send out a copy of the current rules and regulations to everyone. And there are going to be a few little changes, like I said, just grammar and wording to kind of update it, but at this point, we're not seeing anything major that's going to be changed in the rules. That's it. Thanks. Yes,
I have
Bill.
a question on that. You're talking about not changing any of the rules, but you talked about the one about the golf cart covers.
Yeah, so there's a couple
Rule that-
little things like that.
So you
It
can't
didn't
just,
have to be covered.
you can't just change those. That has, we rule
Yeah.
change it and mail it. And we may or may not be ready by the next mailing,
Right.
but,
We had a separate meeting.
but there are certain rules that may be tweaked. And the board, the way that works is the board has to mail out the rule changes to the community. And then the board decides whether or not to make the rule change or not, though it doesn't go to a vote of the community.
So it goes,
But even a grammatical change, I'm
Yeah.
careful to make that change without doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Everything has to be approved.
so it doesn't have to go out to the whole community to be voted
It
on?
has to be
if the rule
mailed to
change?
the community,
Yeah,
voted on by the board.
okay.
Now, the declaration, the documents, that's where it needs to be voted on by the community, and we need a 2/3 majority of those voting to make a change there.
Okay.
That's the declaration. The rules are something different. The board votes to approve them, but they have to be mailed out to the members. I believe it's 30 days prior to the meeting where you're going to adopt those rules. Do you have anything else, Tom, for the rules?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Do we have anything for the website?
Still in work in progress.
Yes.
Turned into a-
We're excited, though. We've got some good stuff for it. I know that.
Turned into a bigger project than we anticipated. Yeah, more time consuming.
Yeah, go ahead, John.
And again, Halloween's coming up, and I'd like to thank Kay McEldowney for stepping up, and she's going to take care of the Halloween party that we have, and I believe we're going to have a DJ there for karaoke. Please, if you're free and you want to help out, please contact Kay.
All right, so moving on, we're going to go into new business, and the first thing on the new business says that the manager will review the budget packet that all members will receive and its contents. So you guys all received your packet. Some of you may have opened it, some not. It includes four pages and a budget packet with a beautiful colored photo like this. So the budget, Scott has reviewed with you, and if you have any questions about it further, feel free to come and see me or see Scott. And I'd be happy to speak to you about it. If he will or not, but he will speak to you.
Yeah. This doesn't go to bed till actually the November meeting, as usual.
Yeah, right now these are proposed.
When we vote on it. So feel free to mark it up for certain things you have questions about. And your questions might be of general interest, so if we had a website, you could post it. No.
I know how hard a website can be. It's a nightmare. So anyway, yeah, look it over, and so it won't be done, it won't be put to bed until next month.
So the budget part, that's the important part for our bank accounts, but we have some other documents in here that are also very important. The first page of the packet is going to be the first notice of the annual meeting, which we're going to have December 15th, right here in the clubhouse at 6:30 p.m. And the purpose of that annual meeting is going to be to elect 3 new directors to our board. So I'm going to touch on that next, actually. Because there's some deadlines associated with running for the board, if you're interested. And it's all typed out, qualifying for the board. On or before 4 p.m. on November 5th, 2021, you have to give written notice by mail, fax, email, or personal delivery to the association office of your desire to run. So November 5th by 4 p.m. If you're interested in running, you need to fill out what will be the 3rd page. These are the Cliff's Notes versions of the directions, and then this is the form that you have to fill out and turn in if you decide you want to run for the board. It's called the intent to run, or intent to be a candidate for run. But that deadline, 4 p.m. on November 5th. Additionally, last-minute nominations can take place at a meeting that is state statute required. For 9 years, I don't think we've ever had anyone show up to it at all. But November 8th, 2021 at 10 a.m., the Board of Directors will hold a meeting in the clubhouse, at which time additional nominations will be accepted. Any unit owner or eligible person may nominate himself, herself, or another unit owner if that person has given their permission. But like I said, that is a rare occurrence. Usually people on the front end will just turn in their intent to run in their information sheet. That's the other thing. If you do intend to run, you're going to want to also turn in, and you can give you a couple extra days to do that till the 9th, an 8.5 by 11 page, 1 page, black and white, with your qualifications, resume, why you want to be on the board, however you would like to do that, but an information sheet about yourself. The information sheets and the ballots will be mailed to all the voting members at least 30 days before the annual meeting. Basically, at next month's meeting, you'll have the opportunity to pick up your packet that includes the voting for the election, and then everybody else will get them theirs mailed. So the intent to run for the board, the important thing that I really want to stress is get it here by 4 p.m. on November 5th. If you're interested, there are 3 open positions, or 3 potentially open positions. And November 5th at 4 p.m. if you're interested in running for the board. I know there's a lot of people out there who've thought about it. If you have any questions about being a board member, also, I know some people are considering it. You feel free to see me, but even better would be to come and talk to one of these board members about it, and they can give you some input of what it's like, but I'd be happy to answer any questions also. We hope some people will consider running.
5 times is running the board.
Out of order.
So any questions? What the hell was I listening to?
Questions privately afterwards. All right. So that takes care of the packet. And at the end of the meeting, if anyone has any questions about that, we'll stand up and ask. Discuss adopting a policy to enforce rules which will prohibit the storage of bicycles underneath the stairwell. Tom mentioned that was one of the rules that the board was considering starting to enforce as we start to enforce all of our rules. John, do you want to touch on that?
I wrote out quite the elaborate document. So it's a proposed policy regarding bicycle storage underneath the stairwells. For many years, the board has tried many different strategies in order to get the people to park their bikes either in the bicycle racks or inside their unit. Despite these efforts, many residents continue to engage in behavior. We have even seen situations where people have drilled loops into the wall so they may lock up their bicycles. Using the space underneath the stairwell to store bicycles or any other similar items creates a number of problems. In the event of a fire, these objects could impede the path of a resident trying to escape. In particular, this could harm the very elderly or disabled residents that we have in this community. It can be a trip and fall hazard, potentially causing injury to someone else. Both of these issues, as well as a number of others, create the potential for insurance issues, especially if there ever were a tragedy to occur due to this preventable situation and lack of enforcement. We have also seen in the past these bicycles near people's stairwells have been stolen by criminals from outside the community. Ring doorbell. We do not want to have anything to attract a criminal element that close to our front doors. Thieves are more often than not assume that the communal bike parking area is under surveillance and closely watched. They would rather find a bicycle tucked away in a corner by an old lady's house where they can sneak it away without issue. We have 3 current rules that address this situation. Again, your rules and regs. They are number 6, 24, and 25. I think that these rules, particularly number 6, clearly states the bicycle storage guidelines. These rules are as follows. Number 6, the association has installed bike racks on common elements to provide bike parking and at the 2- and 3-story buildings. These racks shall not be reserved and will be used at the bike owner's risk. If the space is not available, go to the next rack. This will not be a storage area. It is only for current use. Bikes should be locked at all times while stored at the bike rack. Number 24, all common elements inside and outside the buildings will be used for their designated purposes only, and nothing belonging to unit owners, their families, tenants, or guests shall be kept therein or thereon without the approval of the directors. And such areas shall at all times be kept free of obstruction. Owners are financially responsible to the association for damage to the common elements caused by themselves, their tenants, and their guests. Number 25, no owner shall permit anything to be done or kept in this unit or in the common elements which will result in the cancellation of insurance on the building or contents thereof, or which would be in violation of any law or building code. For this purpose, I propose the board adopt the following policy, effective November 1st, 2021. Bicycles that are stored underneath the stairwell overnight are to be removed and stored by the association. In order to retrieve your bicycle, the association will require you to sign and acknowledge a written warning that has been issued for your unit. The warning will state that you understand that this is your one and only warning, and it applies to you and anyone else from your household. Within this warning, it will state that if at any time in the future this violation occurs again, we will again remove the bicycle and you will be required to pay a $100 fine prior to the bicycle being returned to you. Signs of these fines are to be underneath each stairwell. So that there is no confusion and that every offender will have been aware of this policy, and it was also posted clearly. Besides the bicycles, I know that I've been around, there are some other tables with vases and pots on them. Please get rid of those. And we will be getting new bike racks for the buildings that lack them. So I'd like to make a proposal on this policy.
So we have a motion on the floor to adopt a policy saying that beginning November 1st, bicycles will no longer be allowed under the stairs and the rule will be enforced. Do we have a second?
I second it.
So we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Yes.
Any discussion by the board?
I don't know if you mentioned it, John, but one of the things that concerns me is if the fire marshal comes in they can find us. If they see a bicycle or any obstruction like that, and if he's in a bad mood, it could get spent.
I agree.
And once a year, we're required to have all that stuff checked, so they are in here, at minimum once a year. Any other discussion from the board?
Yeah.
Bill?
I know you and I had talked about trying to get a covered area over the bike racks so it would make it a little more feasible for people to park there. But we kind of tabled that for the time being due to the increase we had in our dues, because we know this is gonna run into some extra monies that we didn't really have set aside for that. I know it's gonna be several $1,000s to try to do that.
Another issue that comes up is permitting, something like that. You'd have to probably move the locations of the racks out of the parking lots into a different locations, or else they won't be able to, they won't permit. You make alteration to the parking lot, or anything like that.
So that was one of the reasons, we looked at doing that. It just cause it's gonna be a bigger hassle than probably what it would be worth.
Any other discussion from the board? So with that being said, all in favor of the proposed policy, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody against, please say nay. Motion carries 7-0. Next, we're going to discuss fruit trees, which was a topic during the open forum last month. Tom, do you want to talk about that?
Last month at this meeting, we had quite the discussion about the fruit trees. Heard from a number of people. In the meantime, the Rules Committee and the board in general has looked at every side of this, and Eric has done a significant amount of research on other communities and how they handle this. And basically, every community we could find, this is 10 or 12 or 14 communities, there are no fruit trees allowed anywhere on the common property. And there are good reasons for that. As upsetting as it is to some folks, they just can't be on the common grounds. It becomes the HOA's responsibility then to maintain them and keep the varmints away, deal with the mess. The lawn guys hitting avocados or whatever can be a problem.
When they get to a certain size, there's a liability of just fruit fall and hitting something.
Yeah, and these lawnmowers, you've watched them go through here, they're fast. And they could hit something and create another missile that's potentially harmful. Anyway, there's a whole raft of reasons of why these trees just can't be allowed. So we're going to kind of ease into it. There's a number of residents who have planted small fruit trees over the last few years, and we're requesting that they dig these up, plant them in a pot, put them in your courtyard, or donate them. But if you could just deal with it and get rid of them on your own, would be the best policy. The board's committed to following these rules, and once all the fruit trees, the small fruit trees, are removed, we're going to begin eliminating many of the larger fruit trees, such as the banana trees and citrus, and so forth. If you have, like we said, if you've got some around your house and you have a use for it somewhere else, please remove them voluntarily so we don't have to pay somebody to deal with it. The mature trees will be considered on a case-by-case basis, with the majority being removed over time, mainly because of the economics and the safety issues. We're going to systematically remove these trees as dollars and timing permits, and it'll be common knowledge as to what they're doing. At this point in time, I want to make a motion that we direct Eric to move forward with this plan and enforce this rule across the community. Over the next few months, most, if not all, the fruit trees will be removed from the community properties.
I'll second that motion.
So we have a motion and a second that we begin to eliminate fruit trees within the community. Do we have any discussion?
I have a question for Eric. What is the cost per varmint that we have to remove?
It depends on the varmint, actually, but I
Well-
think we're paying $30 a raccoon, $50 for a possum. These are cheap prices. We're normally, I think it might be 50 for a cat.
Well,
Armadillos,
that's only for,
we've had a significant problem with armadillos. I think those are 50, but almost probably, if you're in a villa, you probably had an armadillo hole around your house in the last year and a half.
so that also gets expensive. They come in eating fruit.
The one thing that also has to be, people have to remember is when you plant something on common ground, that's not your property, and that plant essentially becomes property of the association. So a fruit tree or something like that on common ground, the board has the right to have that taken out. So keep that in mind before you do that. So with that being said, we have a motion on the floor to start to eliminate fruit trees in the community systematically. All in favor? All against? 7-0, 6-0. Bob is not here. 6-0. Okay, well that is the new business portion of the agenda. We're going to have an open forum here at the end before we close it out. So do we have any questions from the audience? I saw some hands raised during the meeting. Who wants to go first? Ann, will you step up to the mic though and say your name for the people that are watching from home?
My name is Ann Irvin. I wanted to compliment you on trying to start to enforce rules. I hope that is really followed through. We've tried to do this. Let's just keep going. Getting back to the bikes, are you going to hire somebody with a truck and bolt cutters to come and take these at night?
We're not going to tell when we're going to do that.
You know, you could just take a screwdriver and flatten the tires.
No, because we want the tires to still have air when they pay $100 to get it back. But
Well, I hope, no, I really hope you do, and follow through with it, because you talk, and then often nothing gets done, so let's go. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann. Just a comment on that. And this is something this board has committed itself to, is we're the folks that are going to start getting stuff done that's a problem around this community. And we're only trying to do our best. We've got rules on the books. Some of them haven't been followed for a number of years. And it's time to start doing that. And if we need to change some of these rules, that'll be considered also. One of the other things on the bikes, because you kind of emphasize those.
It's hard to hear you, Tom.
Is this mic working?
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good, sorry.
There you go.
One of the additional things on the bikes in addition to being the safety and all of this, we get multiple complaints from the other residents in the building who, they come out of their door and there's 3 bikes piled in front of their door. They're walking down the stairs and there's a bicycle cable wrapped around the handrail that they have to avoid. So it's almost more of an issue with the complaints we're getting from the other residents who take care of their bikes, put them in the bike rack, or put them in their unit.
It's not a great look for property values if you come looking at a
No.
condo and then you see a bunch of bikes piled up under the stairs. You're going to think twice maybe about buying that condo.
Yeah. So we're only doing what the people are asking. People, there's enough people complaining about this, then we have to consider enforcing the rule that's already in place. So thank you for your comments, Ann.
Anybody else? Yeah, come on up.
Come on back.
Name and address, if you don't mind.
My name's John Reese, 9650 Green Cypress Lane. This is part of the rules and regulation, I know it is. I get laughed at when I take my dog out. I hold the bag underneath my dog's butt. pick up dog crap. How many times on this road right here is there dog crap right in the middle of the road?
In the road?
In the road.
Oh, yeah.
People can vouch for this.
Are you sure that's from is it definitely
It's a
from
dog.
a dog?
It's
Okay.
definitely a dog. And both sides of this, where I walk my dog,
Yeah.
there's dog crap on both sides.
Yeah.
We need to enforce this. It's disgusting, and I mean, you run over it with a car, and then it stinks to high heaven. So this needs to be enforced
I know
also.
there's like a type of toad that puts out
No,
something that looks
this is-
like.
this is
but it
dog.
could be a dog. And
This is
I don't know.
definitely dog.
I've never seen it going in the road instead of the grass. That's interesting.
I'm sorry, I've been sick.
That's interesting. I'll tell you one thing. People will walk their dogs and that do pick it up and come around the pathway here in the lake, and they would always throw it in the trash can right by the front door here of the clubhouse. And one day, 2 or 3 months ago, the cleaning girl came to me and she said, "We have to move this trash can because it stinks when everybody walks into the clubhouse." So if you notice the trash can's against the wall now by the pool, that's for those folks that actually do pick it up. So we do have a few that do. I know that for a fact. Thank you to the ones that do. And the ones that don't, we want to find out who they are.
John, just a quick funny story in response. So a couple of weeks ago, I'm out walking my dog, and I've got my little baggie, and I pick it all up, and I'm walking home, and I get in the house, and Marcia's like, "What the hell, there's dog shit all over your feet." I stepped in somebody else's dog while I was carrying my bag.
It's no fun, Tom, because it's
Oh,
all over.
Absolutely.
It's ridiculous.
I see it in grass, too.
And there's certain people, I'm not gonna name them, but you see them, they're
Oh.
walking
Yeah.
all the time with no
No
bags.
bag, yeah.
Nothing.
It's the same people.
Absolutely.
And maybe privately, some people would like to name them. But do we have any other questions for now? Okay. Okay. Step on up. Name and address though first.
Oh, really? I gotta remember it?
Yeah.
Okay, the name is K. McInerney.
4701.
4701, thank you. I just had a question. I understand this stuff with the bikes, and so when we're doing the bikes, are we going to add more bike racks? Because I know some of them over there by me, if I park my bike and then my other friends come and they park their bike, then if I have to move because it's too full and I move over to the other one, they've got like 4 of the 3-wheelers, is that what you want to call them? I don't know. And you can't get another bike in there either. So are they going to add another one somewhere there?
We're going to try to figure out how to make the
Okay,
best of it.
thank you, because I'm like,
Okay, we're going to try to make it work.
okay.
There's about 30 bikes being kept under the stairwells. We removed, I think, 20 bikes from the bike racks. So
Okay,
there should be adequate room for bicycles, but we are looking at replacing some racks with newer racks and adding some to some, there's 1 or 2 buildings that are lacking.
And what we're hoping for is that when the people go back north, that they move their bikes off the rack, back inside their unit.
We're just going to preserve the bicycle. It makes all the sense in the world. Even if you just put it on your lanai. Dan, step on up. Name and address, please.
Ring doorbell.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Don't have Wi-Fi.
What I want to know is how you're going to let the people know that are not here. I have no room for my bike. I've already had one stolen. I bought another one. I asked to have the ones that have flat tires moved. They still sit right there. I can't put mine in the bike rack.
We moved 20 bicycles, so we can check your bike rack. Yours is actually one of the ones that got stolen right from in front of the front door. Yeah. So it all goes round and round. We're going to try to make the best of a bad situation. We did take out 20 bicycles from these racks. If we need to revisit it again, we'll look at it. Bill and I spent a lot of time there. But we removed 20 bicycles, and I believe there's 31 or 32 that are being stored under the stairwells. I've counted them. So there should be just about enough room. Maybe we're a little bit tight, but you know, individual situations could create some inconvenience. It's first come, first served, obviously.
How are you
But we're
going to
gonna
let
try to
those
figure
know
it
that there's so many people that don't come to board meetings? They don't know.
Well, we
they
put
gotta
out
move their
minutes.
bikes.
We put out minutes, and we email the minutes to all the members. And then the video is posted online, and then there's going to be signage posted under each stairwell that says what the policy is, so that way they know what it is. So I don't know if there's a whole lot more than that we can do. But if there is, we will do it, because we want to do everything we can. Anybody else?
I know I spent quite a bit of time going around and looking at all these bike racks, trying to determine whether the bikes were in good enough operating condition to be used. And if they wasn't, we put a tag on them, we put yellow tape on them. We had some people that called back and said, you know, that bike's being repaired and so forth. This started, what, 3 months ago, we started looking at these things.
Yeah,
So it's not like this is something that's happened overnight, and we've tried every way that we can to give you enough room to get those bikes in the racks. And like you said, if we can't, we'll have to add some additional racks to that.
Yeah, I mean, we're all in this together, so we're gonna figure it out and make the best of it. Anybody else?
4705 Blackburn, Shannon Lightning. My question is concerning the trees. One of the things that when I moved in here that attracted me to this place was the oak trees and the number of healthy and mature trees that we have. I do not see us, from a landscaping point of view, planting and replacing trees that we are taking down. It seems like it's more of a priority to take trees out of here, and the trees that we have put back in are decorative, small trees. I would like, the landscaping people to look at preserving, and I think there's a state law that if you remove an oak tree, you have to replace it. So I would just like to bring that to the attention of the landscaping.
Yeah, and the landscaping committee can look at that. One thing I'll tell you, I personally don't believe in cutting down mature trees unless there is a reason to do that. A lot of the trees that we have out there are probably older than I am. So I don't, unless it's causing a problem, like into the plumbing of somebody's house, or lifting their driveway, or causing some other sort of problem, or dying, or going to die and create a hazard. Those are the only reasons that we cut
I'm not
mature
saying
trees.
I'm just saying
No, but as a
reasons
philosophy,
we have had
that's my
to.
personal philosophy.
I know, but we've had to take out quite a few, and I don't see us nurturing that.
So one of the problems that we've had, and the massacre of the live oaks has always been a tragedy for me, but we had to do it because of the hurricane risk and also the hurricane damage. So these beautiful sweeping live oaks have now been cut to look like oaks.
How many oaks have we planted in the last 10 years?
Well, here's the other thing. We've really pushed since Irma to try to cut down trees, and the bills on tree removal and tree trimming have been very high. So yeah, replacing things is in order, but it's not in the priority. Once we get the one thing sorted, we're restricted by money, basically. If we could cut down a tree, grind the stump out, redress the ground, and plant another tree immediately, that would be great. But it's not something that we can really afford to do.
The sad thing is, any oak tree that we plant, we will never see the benefit of.
Well, no, but you have to think down the road.
Yeah, and the sad thing too about a lot of the oaks that we have, they were never properly maintained.
And the fast-growing trees, unless they're put in a certain area, are really not suitable for a hurricane area, for a storm-prone area. So yes, I would really like to do that, but right now, the expenses on tree trimming and replacements has been pretty hairy in the last couple of years.
And one of the reasons that we're having to trim and do these kind of drastic cuts in some areas is because they were never properly maintained. And this goes back 10, 15, 20 years ago to where these trees became codominant. When you see it kind of V out of the trunk and almost have two trunks, that's called a codominant leader. And what you want to do is right when that happens, take the weaker portion off and leave the stronger portion so it maintains its shape as a tree. And what happens where that V is, you'll start to see it get really black and really dark. That's it getting weaker and weaker. And at some point down the line, it is going to split. You're going to have a big branch come down like we had out here. So that is one of the challenges, is that they weren't necessarily properly maintained from the beginning. But we have what we have and we do the best we can with it. But adding more is always a good idea.
Anybody else?
The golden rain tree is beautiful.
Yeah, that one was really good.
That's good, plant some more of them.
Mr. Chairman?
Okay, let's see here. All right, I want to add this note here, just to some of these things that are happening here to us. We have a note here that we want to actually take time to fix the various issues that are happening now with some of the things that are happening. Like some of the samples were, some of them that were being pulled or broken down, and they want to start fixing them. So we'd like to at least try to take enough time working on these projects coming out here so that we can overlook these things that are a problem. And let's get that taken, and let's do some of these other sorted items that have the same problem with. So that needs to be done too. And there's another one here too that is a second sorted issue, is a problem that's showing up, and we want these items checked and try to start.
So bottom line is we want to get stuff done. We want to get stuff done. The same thing that Tom said, I think John's saying the same thing. And I hope everybody understands that these rules, they're not meant to be punitive, they're meant to follow the rules that have been in place that everybody agreed to. So there's no other questions. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
So second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody against adjourning? No? Thank you, everybody, for coming. It's really good to have a nice crowd back in here.
Oh, Folly, you're not allowed back in there.
Yeah, except for you.